On to our first panel before we go to our break, ladies and gentlemen. This is Shaping the Future, Leadership Strategies for Cybersecurity and Risk Management. I would like to bring up, to go into this chair, Mr. Enda Kyne of FBD. Here comes a table. This is action happening live in the moment. Geraldine Powderley is the VP of Head of Global Information Systems with SkySpecs. Geraldine, I'm going to put you into that chair there. Ian Brennan is the Chief Innovation Officer with ASL Aviation Holdings. Ian, in you go there. Michael Burroughs is the Head of Global Cybersecurity with BioMarin. And please, ladies and gentlemen, your moderator for this panel, Director of Global Sales for SmartTech 24/7, Gavan Egan. Thank you. Thank you, Gavan.
Good morning, everybody. So, shaping the future, leadership in cybersecurity and risk management is what stands between you and coffee. So we're going to have a good kind of active session here. We are going to reach out at the end of the session for questions. So if you have any questions, we get the mics going and we'll have a chat about that. But before I kick off, maybe we'll get the panel members to introduce themselves. So maybe Enda, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Gavan. Enda Kyne is my name. I'm Chief Technology and Operations Officer at FBD Insurance, large general insurer here in Ireland. I'm here with my colleagues from a CISO and IT security team.
Geraldine.
Hi everyone, my name is Geraldine Powderley. I'm VP of Information Security at a company called SkySpecs. We're in the renewable energy area with focus on drones which manage our wind turbines.
Good morning everyone, Ian Brennan's my name. I'm Chief Innovation Officer for ASL Aviation based out in Swords. Probably not a company you've heard of, but if you've ever ordered next day delivery in an Amazon or a FedEx or a DHL or a UPS van has turned up and delivered it to your house, the likelihood is that it's moved on one of our aircraft around Europe, around the world. So,
thank you. Mike.
And hello everyone, my name is Michael Burroughs. I am the Head of Global Cybersecurity for BioMarin Pharmaceuticals, and we make life-changing therapeutics for genetic diseases. Very rare genetic diseases where the patient population is only about 1,000 to 2,000 in certain circumstances.
Thank you, Mike. So folks, in thinking about this panel, and thinking about how the role of the CISO has evolved over the last number of years, boy, has it changed. But one of the biggest changes has been the stakeholders that CISOs now have to deal with. You know, the topic of the conference today is converged, and that really talks about the world converging around, you know, what the CISO needs to do and how the CISO needs to support the company. And by what I mean by that is that the systems that a CISO is responsible for now support the value chain of the company. The complexity of the world they live in is, vastly, got vastly more complex, and Geraldine's going to talk a bit more about that in a minute. The importance of what they do. You see the value of a cyber breach is going up. I think the recent is just shy of 5 million for the average, and the environment is just so much more complex. So we're going to dive into each one of those topics, talking to the members of the panel here. And maybe Ian, if I can kick off with you. So ASL Airlines, right? No stranger to risk management at the core of what you guys do. So how do you think about marrying cybersecurity and risk management in ASL?
Yeah, it's funny. We had our catch up beforehand to say what do we all think of that, and when I was preparing for it last night, I said, actually, I kind of almost disagree with the question. Okay. So to me, we're an aviation company, so every month we have incident response drills within our business. So it's, in aviation, it's you have an aircraft and it comes into land and does something like that. It comes into land, it's bad weather, the pilots get it slightly wrong, it's a wet runway, and they end up going off the end of the runway. And we've all seen those pictures, the airplane sitting halfway up to its wheels in mud or whatever else. And that's the kind of drill that we do every single month in every one of our airlines, whether it's in South Africa or Ireland or Australia, whatever else. That's what we do. That's our enterprise risk management. To me, cybersecurity, IT incident response is simply the same thing, just in a different dimension. Mm-hmm. So, aviation, as we all know, is an extraordinarily heavily regulated industry. The regulators are now realizing that actually cybersecurity is kind of important as well, as much as it is about maintenance, as much as it is about crew training and so on, they're going, oh yeah, there is this kind of cyber stuff, because we're in an incredibly interconnected industry. Like, if we file a flight plan now, it can only be done digitally. You can't go and, as it used to be, a telex, even though telex underlies some of the technology that's still used there amazingly. But you know, the regulators are waking up to it. We receive into our information systems, like every minute there's information coming in from partners. So our third-party risk management now is very, very important. And the board, because for us, we're owned by a VC, and those of you who've worked in companies owned by venture capital kind of funds, they're very interested in growing the business. They're very interested in, you know, the business being improved and then probably being sold onwards. So they want to manage risk very, very effectively. So what I've been doing within aviation is saying, look, this isn't something different. This isn't, you know, cybersecurity is not something we have to bridge or we have to bolt on or we have to integrate in the same way we worry about financial risk, we worry about aviation risk, we worry about reputational risk, we worry about cybersecurity, because it affects all of those.
Okay, thank you. No, Mike, Ger, Enda, anything to add to that? Any other comments from your perspective about risk management and cybersecurity?
Financial services, obviously, it's a key aspect of what we do. DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act, obviously treats cyber data loss the same as financial risk. So for us, it's a huge part of our taxonomy, and we've invested heavily in that. And as we might chat about later, is it actually does the heavy lifting for us, because at leadership and board level, it makes it a must-do agenda. So you're not trying to explain why you want to approach something, but you do have to explain how you're going to go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. As Neil talked about earlier on, right? Make these things work for you rather than the other way around. Absolutely. So we talked about the environment getting more complex, and really one of the huge drivers of complexity, as Raluca talked about earlier on, is really AI. You know, so Geraldine, at SkySpecs, right? So fully automated.
Yeah.
Drone inspections, wow, next generation stuff.
Yes.
So maybe, can you talk a bit about what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I would say as an organisation, it's a technical organisation, so a large percentage of the employees would be very technical. And one of the great things with guys like that in town, they want the latest and the greatest. So the adoption of the likes of AI happens very quickly. And I think the challenge for an organisation like that, or any challenge for any organisation, is how are we going to actually deal with this AI? Because the security team are well aware, they attend conferences like this every day, but what about the rest of the leadership within the company? And that's something I've faced. I've asked, what type of a company do you want to be? Do you want to be a company that's going to take on AI and say, listen, employees, we're all in, let's use it, it's useful, there's good stuff in it? Or are we going to say, no, we're going to shy away from it? Or worse, are we just kind of going to put our head in the sand? Because ultimately what I found is, you know, we would have heard of the case of shadow IT. Well, we now absolutely have shadow AI. So whether you as an organisation want to realise it or not, you can be sure the employees are using it. And I think for me, I'd like to break it down in 3 areas, right? There's the AI that the employees or the users within the company will use, right? And that's across everything. That's from your developers, that's your finance, HR, sales. They're all thinking about AI. Then there's the AI that we may decide to put into our products. Do we want to develop our own models? Are we taking outsourced models? All of that. And then the third, more hidden one, I think, is the supply chain, right? Because you have tools in the environment, so take Zoom, for example, you've had it for several years within an organization. And the next release has a new feature, and it's an AI feature. And instantly there's requests into IT to enable the feature. But you've now got a whole load of new sub-processors in that third-party agreement that probably isn't up for renewal for maybe another year or 2 years. So you have to look at who are these processors now, and they're going to be OpenAI, they're going to be Anthropic, they're going to be maybe Microsoft, AWS. And it's a hidden part that you have to consider. So I think those are the 3 areas that I would advise any leadership or anyone in cybersecurity, is to talk at the leadership level, what type of a company do we want, and then update our policies. Because honestly, it's still security 101, right? Whether it's AI or any type of tool. So you need to teach people again, like, what type of information are you going to put into these chat GPTs, for example, and to consider it, because instead of just typing something into Google now, they're uploading entire documents. And I've been to conferences where, you know, they talk about the models we won't train on your data, but I can never really get an answer about where the data in the prompts is.
Yeah.
And that's a big one, right?
No, absolutely, and it's, as you talked about the supply chain as well, right?
Yeah.
How the supply chain is using AI, so you might be able to control certain things, but then
Yeah.
you look at the organizations you work with. Anyone else in the panel want to jump in on that, or any thoughts from your own company?
I won't be shy again.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we're very happy users of AI through SmartTech 24/7
Yeah.
and also get visibility and data classification.
Yeah.
So on other security data tools, it's a real boon to have AI in it. As a business, we use it in a very moderate way, more for internal efficiency. And in fairness, as a company, we're very much into what does it mean for our customer. So if we were to use an additional technology, including AI, where's the so what? So we're cautious about that because it's very much about we need a consistent outcome for customers and how we do things. So we're able to get a much more black and white view. But to Geraldine's comment, one of the things we're really cautious about is we have a lot of suppliers in this IT supply chain are adding in features and they don't announce them like they use. It's just sort of they're there, and all of a sudden you've got a new feature you didn't expect, and also tools actually clashing with each other within our technology hierarchy, where you're getting a funny outage. It actually happens to be AI capabilities and two tools who are actually interacting with each other. So there's all sorts of hidden issues there.
No, thank you, Enda. So we talked about the stakeholder management changing dramatically for CISOs, and it's definitely one of the big areas and driver of that is really building resilience in companies. The amount of, from the board to the factory floor to distribution that you have to work with. And I know, Mike, at BioMarin, I know resilience is key to you, so maybe can you talk a bit about what you guys are doing there and before that at Shockwave Medical?
Yeah, resilience is definitely my favorite topic, especially in healthcare and biopharma, where resilience is key. Patient safety is non-negotiable. Regulatory compliance is non-negotiable as well. So resilience has to be wrapped into your core security program, and it has to be branched out. I've had both the blessing and the curse, and many people think it's the curse of owning end-to-end security. So not only corporate security and cybersecurity, but medical device security. So your resilience practices now have to go in to products that are going into a hospital network, that are going in that can alter the overall patient life cycle of treatment. And so how we build those resilience practices when you have a wide scoping program like that is you have to get all your functional leaders on the same page. And you have to get all your functional groups on the same page. And you have to test beyond compliance. I know we are all security professionals sitting here, and we know about testing. We know about disaster recovery testing and whatnot. But what I've seen is many in my industry only test to the benchmark of compliance. It's about going beyond that to make sure that your systems are available and everything else is able to be up and running, especially from a medical device perspective. From a BioMarin take of things, which is more therapeutics, as my background has been predominantly medical device and healthcare related, we're focusing on resilience in our manufacturing supply chain, especially when our therapeutics are just so critical to changing lives across the globe in these very rare genetic diseases, that we have to build elements of not only testing backups on a weekly basis, but getting into the details, making sure everybody knows what we're doing, why we are doing it, and building out plans on a consistent basis to be able to meet that benchmark.
But given the types of diseases that you treat, I mean, the environment must be changing the whole time. Yeah. I mean, from workers, contractors, relationships, partnerships, all that kind of stuff. I mean, how does that impact that from a resilience perspective? Yeah,
it definitely does. So we do a lot of contract manufacturing for some big names that are out there for other therapeutics beyond genetics. So resiliency even plays an even more critical role, because if I go down and my systems go down, they can't get their product to market. They can't reach their patients. They can't reach their physicians. So the downstream impact, not only on BioMarin is bad if you don't have those resilient elements, but the downstream elements on other markets and other companies like the J&Js of the world, the AbbVies of the world as well, are also downstream impacted as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So Enda, building on that resilience and your background in financial services at FBD, can you talk a bit about what that means from an FBD perspective, and particularly in the context of incident response, which is a big part of how we think about resilience today?
Yeah, a very interesting topic, because I think it comes back to human behaviour at a leadership level. So obviously at a leadership level, you want to be informed, you want to feel you're in control. And I go back a couple of years where, when we came out of COVID, we actually needed to do a formal simulation test of a cyber incident, so part of our control environment. And it took actually quite a while to get everybody together, get them into a room, get a moderator. And one of the things that dawned on us fairly fast is we all agreed this is extremely important, yet we're nearly flippant about the effort it took to get into a room and actually pay attention. So we did two particular things. In the first instance, we said, actually, we want everybody involved in incident management processes going forward, because it was always IT fixing an IT incident, reporting to leadership. And we said, actually, we want all the stakeholders involved. It will be time consuming, but we want to get muscle memory. That was a huge change for us as a team. And to pick up on a point earlier on, it could have been Richard said it or Neil, is we want the leadership team understanding what's happening and being able to talk about it to the outside world, and the tech teams and the helpers fixing things. So that was the first thing. And the second thing is we started to take real life events. So as an insurance company, we have a lot of weather events and storms. And rather than leaving it to just say claims and underwriters, it was all in. We actually treated every one of those as a de facto incident. We ran them as proper incidents, including PR, teams, questions. And what that did was, it actually, to pick up Neil's point, it calmed everybody down about the process, number one. Number two is, even with storms, like so for Storm Eowyn, Red Alert, most people were at home. A lot of people couldn't text or keep in touch. So even just getting the company back in. And the last area, just was interesting, is with DORA, we have an issue or an area called intolerable harm. So actually, there's quite a gap between when a business gets impacted to when it's actually harmful in real terms to a business or customers. And that again calmed down leadership and board. It says we have time to understand, act and interact. That was really important.
Thank you, Enda. So we do have time for a question for the audience, guys. So there are people wandering around their microphones, but if you want to think about a question, do we have any hands up or any questions that going at the moment? Someone's going to have to help me here.
Did you not seed the audience with a question to
No,
get them started?
I should have. But so maybe a quick fire question for each of you. Same question to each of you. If you think about, so this is about leadership, right? So if you think about a leadership learning that you personally had in the last year that you think would be relevant for the audience to hear about today, it'd be great maybe just to take 15, 30 seconds just to share what that is. So maybe, Mike, we kick off with you.
Yeah, so it's the old saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. And that is a big one, especially in the resilience conversation as well. It only takes one significant incident to bring the business down, to understand the true importance of why backups are important, why endpoint detection and response tools and capabilities are relevant, are real, and they do help secure the business. And so I think having gone through incidents on a very wide and global scale, and being able to recover and watching the business either struggle to recover and other parts of the business actually get back on track and up to speed very quickly, I think everyone at the end of the day realizes and then jumps on board from a business relationship perspective to build those plans, to further invest in those capabilities, to continue to build resilient elements within not only the workforce, but in the technical stack as well.
So never waste a good crisis. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Ian.
To me, certainly the last 2 years is tough training, and by that I mean the incident response drills that we'll all do makes actual incidents a lot easier. When I'm there and when we're running incidents, and we actually just did one yesterday, and every time I get a question, The one yesterday was for the executive team, so kind of a worldwide executive team. And when somebody says, oh, would you do that? So, we were giving them a kind of play that, we'd seen Smart Tech had alerted us. We'd started to see some adverse aerial traffic. There was command and control traffic going on. And I said, right, all the tier 1 systems are coming down. I'm proactively shutting them down before somebody hits them with something bad. And one of the CEOs went, are you actually going to do that? And I said, yeah. On whose authority? And I said, on my own. And it's now, I'd be that sort of person. So, but the thing was that, like, doing that, and he was right to ask the question, so he's kind of going, well, he's asking, do you have that authority to do it? I said, well, I'm taking it until somebody says I can't have it. But I'd be explaining to them, I suppose, or getting them to understand what a real incident is going to look like and feel like. And what I want to do is I want to get to the point with all of the different tiers that we do incident response drills with, going to kind of what Michael says, so that the muscle memory is there, that the understanding is there, so that in a real incident they go, oh yeah, we heard about that, we understand why it was done. Yeah. So the more you train and the more you drill and you make it part of their day-to-day operations, that they'll understand it and they'll accept it, the easier the real incidents, which will be, obviously we all know, much, much more difficult, but the easier they will be to survive.
Oh, so thank you. So tough training is through simulation.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. Geraldine.
Yeah, so it's kind of on the training as well, but I think it's working again across the entire company. They have their security training, they have their videos, we run phishing campaigns. But what I've noticed is I changed the story on it in the last year, and I pushed on the reporting of a suspicious activity, because sometimes the indicator compromise is actually sitting on a person's laptop and they see it, right? Somewhere in their gut. I go to your gut, right? I've already clicked the link, I've already put my password in, 50 minutes have gone, and I think, I don't know if I should have done that. And a lot of people don't want to reach out, right? So for the last year, I've been using that as a report it. So use the training, use the phishing, and I gave the stats back out on how many people started to report everything. And with that came some reporting that they clicked the phishing links, right? Not all, some of them claimed they were forwarding it and they didn't click it. But what did come with it is other things. People started to say, hey, we're doing this, we're working on this. I think information security should come on board. And just by encouraging them to really get involved and report back to us, it changed. The whole culture started to change. Rather than just having to do the training, they started to say, yeah, security in mind.
No, thank you, absolutely. I think Roel van Schooten from Trivium, who's going to talk this afternoon, is going to really build on that topic. Okay. Really interesting. And Enda, you...
That's one, Gavan, thanks. So taxonomy of IT and cybersecurity is complex. When we communicate with our audience, either upwards or downwards, we always explain it as best we can, make it simple. We provide as much information as we can to back that up, make it penetrable. And we remind everybody it's everybody's responsibility for IT and cybersecurity constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone's responsibility. So thank you, Enda. So to my panel, Mike, Ian, Geraldine, Enda, thank you very much, guys, for speaking today. A big hand for the panel, folks.